What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot Time coming at you on Tuesday morning. I hope everybody's doing good today. I bet you're definitely doing better than the people in California right now. In what world are we living in where we're suing the president and his administration for deploying the National Guard to guard part of the nation? What stupid, fucked up, backward thinking do we have going on right now? I swear. Anyway, I want to get on here this morning and talk a little bit of Gamecock football heading into the 2025 season. I'm studying up on doing a prediction video for the Gamecocks for this year. Hopefully I can pump out as many teams as I can on these prediction videos. They take not that long to research, probably about hour and a half, 2 hours. Thing is, normally during any point during the day, even hardly any points during the weekend, do I have an hour and a half, 2 hours free that I can just sit down and do these. But I'm going to do my important teams, that being the Gamecocks and their rivals, plus teams I don't like, or teams I do like. And that will be what we have with that one. But Gamecocks get a couple commitments over the weekend. Twin Harris brothers out of Weddington High School in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. Both kids 4 stars. Weddington, if you don't know anything about Charlotte, is kind of it's more of an affluent type suburb. So you would think that these guys are probably pretty intelligent, coming from an affluent area. And not to say there aren't intelligent people that come from poor areas, but look at the facts and do the math on that deal. That's good to be picking up some players like that. Another kid they get yesterday out of Alabama, defensive back, 3-star. I had his name over there somewhere, but I'm excited about that one. Got a lot of speed. Looks like a high-end 3-star from the Birmingham area. So they're starting to branch out a little bit with the recruiting other than just the kids in the state of South Carolina. South Carolina, if they can start getting a strong foothold in the state of North Carolina, that's going to be huge. North Carolina's population is almost double what South Carolina's is. It may be more than double. Check my facts on that. So you got a lot of high school talent there, and you don't have one really dominant team in the state of North Carolina. You also don't have an SEC team, which SEC homer. Well, you don't have a team with SEC money in North Carolina, guys. It just is what it is. Now, the only thing that kind of scares me a little bit there is if North Carolina makes some kind of a resurgence, and I know there's a lot of drama here surrounding the Bill Belichick deal. We started to see the talk about the girlfriend and all that's kind of died down lately. Once they get down to football, I think this guy might surprise some people this year and put together a good season. I'm not ruling out any possibilities on that. Hey, they could win 4 games, and I wouldn't be surprised. They could win 9 games, and I wouldn't be surprised. And I might be sitting here telling you, I told you so. So, also, crazy thing too, Duke's got some NIL money, man. Duke's paying the quarterback a shitload of money. This kid that they got from Tulane, he's over a $2 million guy. I mean, coming from Tulane and was a freshman last year, that lets me know they've got some pretty deep pockets there. Duke's a small school, but they've got some rich alumni. If they get behind football, they can certainly enough of them to support it. Now, I'm not saying Duke's going to develop into a powerhouse or a national championship contender. That would be kind of ridiculous. They're not going to get enough players, and I doubt they would ever be able to get the coaching there to make any kind of serious run. I think they could probably buy some recruits if they wanted to. Aside from that, aside of the recruiting talking going into the 2025 season, just warning everybody, I talked about it on our podcast the other night. I always go into these Gamecock seasons either with guarded optimism or I go into them with guarded pessimism. I don't go in here expecting too much, ever. I don't. Why? Because I've had a lot of years where I've been disappointed. Even during the Steve Spurrier years, the nice run of years he had there from 2010 to 2013, through the 2013 season, there were some times there that I felt like they underperformed and could have possibly won that one more game to kind of get them over the hump, but it just never did happen. And going into this season, it's the same deal. You're coming off a 9-3 year last year where, 9-4 with the bowl game, 9-3 regular season, where you look at it, you made a lot of improvement the second half of the year, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But there were several games there where Carolina was very close to losing and, in fact, could have lost those games and could have been a 6-6 team. And you would not be talked about in the same vein that you're getting talked about in right now. On the flip side, there were a couple of losses there that could have went the other way too. So we could be talking about a 10-2 team. Hell, it could be an 11-1 team that we're talking about that we just came off of. But I'm warning you, I think South Carolina's defense is going to come together, and I think it's going to end up playing well. I'm just a little bit scared about the first part of the season, how that's going to look with a few transfers, some young guys. If everybody stays healthy, by the last half of the season, I think the defense is going to be performing much better. However, the last half of the season is where your tough games come in. That's where you got your Clemson, you got your Texas A&M, and your Ole Miss on the road. You got your game against Alabama on the home. I guess Alabama's kind of like smack in the middle, but towards the second half. So those are some tough tests. I don't want everybody to get their expectations so high and then just flatline when the team doesn't perform the way that you thought it would, and you think some things that should be wins on paper going into the season turn into losses. Game on the road, week 3 against Mizzou scares me. It really does. Eli Drinkowitz has owned South Carolina. Yeah, I know we beat him last year, and hell, it took a damn near miracle to do that. South Carolina takes a look at him, takes a look at their program, and thinks that it should be our birthright to just walk the dog on them every year. And it just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter how many times we have to get punched in the face by that bunch to understand that we may have pulled even as a bunch. They were ahead of us, but it's going to take a few more wins in the wins column against them to kind of totally get the monkey off our back. You got Kentucky at home. I believe that is week 5. I think you've got. I got my stuff kind of mixed up here. South Carolina State's week 3, week 2. Vandy is week 3, and then you've got Mizzou. I misspoke. That's in week 4. You turn around and play Kentucky in week 5, and then you've got an off week before you go to LSU. I've talked about that schedule. I'd have kind of liked to have played LSU the week after Kentucky and had that off week so you could get ready for your Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss stretch. But they're not giving us that. They're making us play that LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss stretch together, which is fine. I'm not going to cry about it. It's an SEC schedule. Back in 1992 when you joined the conference, you knew what an SEC schedule was. That was over 30 years ago. it's time to stop whining about schedules. It's time for Florida to stop whining about schedules. It's time for people to stop whining about Missouri's schedule and Tennessee's schedule being too soft. They are what they are. Some years you're going to come out on the good side of it, no matter what team you are. Some years you're probably going to come down on the back side of it. And the better your opponents are, obviously, the harder your schedule is. And you can't really control how good or bad your opponents are going to be. But the game against Kentucky at home, it's looking more and more winnable, I guess, by the day. There was some news that came out yesterday. The old That SEC podcast guy, Michael Bratton, he did an emergency podcast on it. Not sure that it was worthy of an emergency pod. I think he might have just wanted to do a live podcast. But so the Kentucky associate head coach quits, leaves Kentucky to go to Louisville. That is kind of big news, I guess, for Kentucky. I don't know that it's worth all that to let everybody know that, hey, Kentucky football still sucks. But he leaves, goes to Louisville. He's the longest tenured head coach or assistant who's been there the whole entire Mark Stoops tenure. It's kind of a knife in the back. And moreover than that, so he's leaving and going to Louisville to be the general manager of the Louisville team for Jeff Brom. And Jeff Brom brings in some transfers. He's brought in Miller Moss this year to play quarterback, so I'm sure there's a lot of balance in there that needs to go on with that deal. It'll probably serve him well to have a general manager at Louisville. I'd like to see Louisville elevate their program up to the next level and really seriously contend for an ACC championship. I know they made the ACC champ game a couple years ago, but nobody really seriously thought they were winning it. Florida State was a lot to handle that year. What a turnaround they had last year. I'd like to see Louisville elevate themselves. Smack Clemson in the face every year instead of it just being one time since they've joined the league. I'd like to see them have some repeat success there doing that. So this guy can help them do that. But I think that leads to, it's like there's some underlying questions there about the Kentucky program and what's going on with it. Not good at all, especially to up and leave and go to your hated in-state rival. That is, I'm not going to say it's low class on that guy's part, because, like I said, there may be a reason that he felt he needed to get the hell out of there. Maybe some shit's fixing to hit the fan. I do not know. Maybe one Big Barney Ross could comment on that and let us know what's going on with the Kentucky program. But aside from that, Virginia Tech, week 1, over on the Cover 3 podcast, if any Gamecock fans want to listen to it, they did interview someone from the Hokie sports writer type of people. Last week, I think it was, they do a summer school session every year. They go to a number of teams and they'll interview kind of an insider on that team and kind of talk to them about the offense, the defense, the transfers, who's coming in, who's gone, what do we expect from your team, what's your quarterback and coaching situation going to look like, yada, 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 laissez. And anyway, the overwhelming thing I got from this guy is new across the board. And the thing is, guys, a lot of these dudes did not go through spring practice with them. They got a whole new offensive line. They've got a offensive coordinator who is a former head coach that's kind of a low-key quarterback whisperer, so they say. Philip Montgomery is his name, used to be the head coach over at Tulsa. So it's going to be interesting. The more I was kind of nervous about that game, but the more and more I hear things like that, it makes me pretty confident that the Gamecocks are going to go into the Big Body Bends and get a win there. That's probably not going to be too hard to achieve. But once again, keep that guarded optimism up, especially when you start getting into that SEC play, because it's going to be tough, especially when Carolina goes on the road. Anyway, I'm going to see you guys later on. I appreciate you. Peace. I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!